head of system integration business in LMT, Latvian mobile telephone, or how we call it, it's Latvian mobile technology section, actually, and we are the largest MNO of Latvia, and we originally served only the local market as MNO. But let's say in the last 5 years, we are very actively looking for a new core, new core activities outside our core business in the home market. And that's why also we started working with 5G private networks, and that's the business I'm managing. So we are deploying 5G private networks in home market and also in export markets. We were looking at this opportunity for some time, and it's a nice new technology. But we are like not in the really center of the Europe where the most economic activity is, and we understood that the reaching best business case will be maybe a bit harder in our environment, and then we were actually quite actively looking for opportunities, and then actually the BCT came. And they had a real business challenge, and that was the main reason why we did the private 5G project together with them. They in their container terminal had a well-built Wi-Fi solution that was reaching end of life, and they had to replace it, and they had opportunity to make this business decision: do we switch to a newer technology and do something better and with outlook to automation and robotics and stuff like that, or we once more get into the Wi-Fi and again have all known problems, but we don't have unknown challenges. So that was their decision. But yes, basically it was the customer, his business challenge of reaching good connectivity in the container terminal.
Well, for Druid, we have experience in ports, but the BCT terminal deployment is a very complete deployment into a very modern intermodal port operation. Okay, so it's touching off all the different elements of the intermodal operations within the port, communication to the workers who are working in the apron area around the stacks, the container stacks, and also providing data connectivity for the terminal operating system so that the efficiencies in the port can be increased exponentially by the use of the 5G network. And it showed how simple and efficient the installation of that network was for our partner LMT in that space.
In this special project, it was around 50 hectares, the area of the container terminal. They work very efficiently, and they need the good connectivity everywhere. They had installed like around 22 masts. So the real hardware infrastructure with fiber optical connectivity to almost of each of them, electricity connectivity to each of them, and still having access points on every of them. Even at this situation, they had some black spots, and this meant even you can say downtime for the reach stackers, for their operators, for yard clerks. There was actually the workers were telling fun stories that I pick up the container and then I don't see where should I bring it. Then I'm driving around the yard to find the coverage and getting the information from TOC. So it's a real business challenge there. We started with some test installation. We started, of course, with some calculations before test installation. So to be 100% sure it will work, and in test installation, we already tested the different use cases. So we basically showed the customer that it's up and running. We ourselves, as a system integrator, actually were testing different core solutions. We were testing also different radio solutions to understand which suit better the precise environment. We also actually tested the network integration. That was a big part of the project, not only building the 5G private network, but integrating it with the local network the company had with the enterprise network. So it's actually through working with customer, understanding his needs and testing all of those things before deploying. So this was the way how we went.
Just to emphasize the fact that Druid Core was already pretty much built for that type of use case, because our focus is not on public networks primarily. It is on private networks, and over the years we've built up a huge expertise in the requirements for those industries, the low latency, the small footprint of the actual installation, the requirement for lower cost hardware, because that's a fairly contentious issue. If you come along with some very expensive hardware to run your core and your network, that impacts the operations of the port, and it slows the adoption. Whereas Druid's core has been built from the ground up as an industrial core and enterprise core, more so than a public MNO core. We do, of course, support public MNO core as well as we've moved forward, but primarily we were delivering into those industries that could not have failures. Okay, so that they always need to make sure that their mission critical comms are always present and that their operations can continue at all times. A port is the entry point to a country. You can disable the economy of a country if the port is not operating efficiently. So by making sure that every element of the Druid core is aimed at operational technology staff's ability to use it and utilize it and manage it, simplification of that was key. So making that as easy as possible for non-telecoms engineers to be able to support and manage the core.
With Druid's core, actually, the best thing about it that it's built already for more than 15 years, and they are very focused on private networks from the beginning, and for us as system integrator, it was quite easy actually to deploy it and configure it, and it didn't took us too many time to get to know it. We have actually before tested different other systems where we see that quite often the system integrators or the end users are a bit locked into the support, and the things that you can change in this core are limited, and you need a call with this big vendor's representative to have some adaptations to do something differently. Here it's much more easier. And all of this this experience by Druid, that actually helped a lot to do it very simply. In this specific project, we actually don't use too many of this functionality. It's no slicing there. It's very simple, straightforward project with two radios and mainly focused on simple connectivity. Yeah, Druid has it all, so you can use the same software for simple projects and for very complex ones. So it's actually a good deal, I would say.
Well, we'll start with the push to talk. That's operating over across our core, which is integrated with the push to talk solution. So that is actually, we've done tight integrations with a number of MCX PTT providers. So we have a lot of experience in that space. So we know their requirements. So it allows flexibility for LMT to use the MCX solution that they needed, and they could be 100% certain that with the help of Druid, that it would work effectively at all times. On the OT side, because we have a very good understanding of OT technologies in general, the operational technologies that is within the ports, we're very familiar with the types of equipment that they'd be operating, and we're also familiar with the kind of operational needs they would have and the impact that can have across intermodal logistics, not just in the airport, but how it impacts further out. So a lot of it is making people feel comfortable with using us as their network in that operation. So we talk the language of those industries, okay? And because we have the ability to do, like we can do things like layer 2 over 5G, we can do a lot of things that other people wouldn't necessarily be able to do because of our focus into that industrial environment. So yeah, that did enhance the operations across the board in the port, and over time will show greater efficiencies as the actual as they move to more data-driven and efficient services within the port. Getting the terminal operating system visible to the guys down on the ground at all times without interruption is very important.
We had to plan our works, also knowing the container ship arrivals and departures, knowing their on-site work. We still we switched on basically the private 5G, but the Wi-Fi was still there. So basically, we didn't remove it before we deployed. So we made it doubling at some point, and then we introduced all the equipment, all the devices on all the machinery for all the yard clerks. So we did it piece by piece, and basically leaving the old systems still operational, not switching them off before ensuring that the new ones are working.
Integration teams would have made sure that they would have had a very good plan in place. They worked very closely with the terminal operator to make sure that everything was done in a way that did not impact the operations of the port. We ensured by providing support to LMT to ensure that they fully understand how to stand up the Druid core and to ensure that the network was effectively deployed and that it operated from the day one, delivering the services that they required to maintain port operations at all times. And again, without that interference into the operations of the port. The performance of the network was far greater. Voice quality was better. The data that they now could deliver was consistent, it operated a lot better between the stacks in the container stacks area. And it has shown itself to be a very, very effective and complete solution that has enhanced the operations of the port.
Private 5G network, it's actually hygiene level for those kind of things as IGVs, as of all the automation, even if we are talking now like customers, not from tier 1, not like the biggest European ports, but tier 2, tier 3, even if the business model is not yet there, you need to have a good connectivity to enable them in the future. If we look at some KPIs at the BCT, it's a bit too early maybe to look from the annual numbers because the books have not been finished this year. But what speaking to customer, we see that the downtimes of the reach stackers have reduced, and also the speed how they are doing all this unloading, uploading, it's increased. The data transfer from the cranes to the database, it's faster. So basically, we are having some impact on that from one side at the real operation like it is now, and from other side, we're actually enabling those future operations of automation, of robotics, of AGVs. So the network is there, and then it's just the business decision to say that we are ready to implement them.
Okay, with the green port initiatives, there's a lot of things that ports have to focus on to make sure that they're ticking those boxes. Making sure that discharges from vessels aren't happening, environmental censoring to do that, vision systems that can be deployed in different parts of the port. You can now get that high definition video back to your centralized place to collate the information you need for those green audits that you will undergo. Noise pollution, air quality sensors again to make sure that ships, when they come into port, if they're running heavy fuel oil, that they have switched back to diesel when they're into European ports, so that the port remains a good neighbor to all the people that exist around it.
Devices in 5G standalone, it's another issue. You don't have every device you would like that's working on the private 5G network, especially it can be problematic in smaller markets where big device manufacturers have not yet opened the standalone in their software. So you need to test it. You need to take different devices, see how you do it, and you would not like to implement production system on some kind of test codes. That's not how we do it. So you want the real production environment and real devices that are working. So this selection of devices, testing them, finding the right partners, we invested a lot of time there, and we are actually still continuing to invest a lot of time to understand and test which devices are working in 5G private networks in standalone mode.
Well, one of the great things is with our core is we have a very, very, very easy to stand up core. Okay, you cannot go in with the same type of solution as you would in a telecoms environment, because you're needing to deliver a core that is easy to deploy, easy to manage, and is interoperable with multiple RAN providers. Okay, so we're agnostic from our side to the RAN, so we can talk to different RAN providers from many different manufacturers. Okay, and that means that you can drop a Druid core in, you can attach your G-Node Bs, and you can be very certain that your network will stand up efficiently and will work from the very beginning. And as we also provide all those simplified hooks to other services outside the network, like their enterprise network, their other technology, their PBXs, all that, we provide very easy onboarding of those, it makes it very, very simple. And we're quite certain there'll be very few ports in the world that would not be able to take in what I would call a drop-in network solution from Druid and our partners.
Latvia, I think we are just at the beginning of the road, of course. But how we see it, definitely that these are those main segments as everywhere in the world. Ports and logistics, it's very straightforward, very good business case is there. We actually, a few weeks ago, launched one more private network in Latvia in a sawmill, kind of even not so high added value manufacturing side, but still finding a very good use case. And we have several of those projects growing quite fast. So we see manufacturing will be actually a big customer in our region, and even not the super high added value manufacturing plants. And then where we are doing some tests and where we have huge potential, it's agriculture, definitely, because we see that workforce it's much more expensive. Everybody is introducing different kinds of robotics for cattle management, for seeding, for all of stuff. You are introducing AGVs and a lot of automated solutions. So this connectivity is coming, and then it's a bit of us like system integrator finding this how to apply this private 5G. And one more thing is actually the distributed core network. This is what we see as also interesting. I think we are working together with Druid that this possibility to install several smaller cores in the network. And there I also see a very good competition with different other enterprise level wireless systems, mostly Wi-Fi. And I think at this level, it will also be very good solution for wider array of customers. But of course, to enable it, it very much depends on the frequencies. On Latvia, we are using our own frequencies as there is not yet regulation for open frequencies. We understand that in other countries of our region, the frequencies are opening up, and this will just very much speed up the development.
I think we're going to see a lot more private networks for a start. People are starting to realize that it is the better solution than the other technologies. Now, the other technologies can complement, but from performance characteristics, it's going to be a lot better. In the likes of ports, again, if the ports are like small cities, they're landlords, they have terminal operators, they're made up of different components, different people operate in ports. So we're able to provide technology that can support all of them. It's technology that they're familiar with. The ability to start carrying, as I said, the likes of layer 2 traffic means you can get into doing industrial protocol control networks. So you're actually able to deliver a better network in the port. With the advent of NTN as well, you're able to touch off assets that may not necessarily be directly in the main terminal of the port. They may be further out into the sea. Like, for example, if you have lights, navigation lights that are located throughout the port, how do you know they're working? Okay, and they could be many kilometers from the actual the apron side. So you need to actually find a way to connect to them. It may not be practical to build a mobile network that goes out there, but with the integration of NTN, you can get the data back from those assets that are not local to the main port itself. So there's a lot of exciting things coming in the 5G world for ports.
We see ourselves actually expanding quite heavily in export markets. We have some nice partner talks with potential partners in Latin America, in Western Europe. We are actually very open for different discussions with new partners who are working with enterprise networks in their countries, and we are ready to deliver this 5G competence. And this is our actually strategy. In export markets, we don't build ourselves, but we are ready to configure, to plan, to deliver all the hardware, everything. So we are quite actively hunting for local partners in countries where the frequencies are open, and can ask the partners to come to us and express their interest.